Ross, a couple of questions. Has a team been finalised for the game? And you're preparing quite clearly for a 50-over-side game, but what about the contingency of a shortened game? Has that been prepared for as well?
Yeah, we haven't. Obviously, we haven't seen the wicket, so we'll just have to wait and see tomorrow with our 11 and everyone to be prepared to play. There's a full 15 to choose from, and I guess we can't look too far ahead, but there are obviously different permutations, different balance of squad if the weather does play a part, and whether it's a reduced game or a 50-over game.
Thank you. Ross, is the tournament playing more into New Zealand's hands now with the poor weather and I guess pitches being under wraps, etc.?
I said at the start of the tournament that luck's going to play a part with the weather. England's a beautiful place, but it's not famous for good weather. But in saying that, there's still a long way to go in this tournament, and I'm sure there's going to be rained out games that could affect us along the way. But in saying that, it's a fine day in Taunton, and there has been times where forecasts have been wrong as well, and hopefully tomorrow's one of them. And
just secondly for me, just how have you prepared for the Indian spin on this occasion, just with what they've been able to achieve?
Yeah, I think we've faced India a lot in recent times and had some success against them. Obviously, two world-class spinners on their day, and I think we've had success at different stages. But we'll have to wait and see what the wicket produces tomorrow. Some shorter boundaries, and sometimes that can play in the minds of the spinner, not necessarily, almost being a little bit more defensive. But as I said, I think with all the weather around and so much uncertainty, we'll just have to wait and see, and I'm sure the team that adapts the best will probably get the right result.
Ross, there's been a lot of controversy over the bails. I'm sure you've seen it 5 times in 13 matches. The ball's hit the stumps and the bails have stayed on. The ICC have said nothing different about them. We're sticking with them. What do you make of it?
Well, I wish the bail stayed on when I got bowled in the last game. That was probably hit a bit harder than the ones that have happened recently, but it's like anything. I think they're here to stay, and I think they add a different dimension and a good dimension to cricket. But a few of the batsmen have had a bit of luck in recent times, and it is what it is. Just get on with it, and I'm sure the bowlers are a little bit disappointed, but I'm sure the batters are very happy at the same time.
And one second question, if that's okay. Look, we're still in the early stages of the World Cup, as you've mentioned. You're 3 out of 3. Who else has impressed you so far? Who do you see as the contenders right now?
Oh, I think it's still, as I said, still early on, and I think majority of all 9 teams are still, or maybe realistically 7 teams still in the hunt. And I think it's not only the way the draw works out. If you can get into a bit of a roll towards the end, I think first and foremost you've got to get into the semi-final, regardless of whether you're top seed or the 4th seed, and you're only 2 wins away from maybe lifting that cup. So, I think I could mention 5 or 6 teams that I think are playing very well, but at the end of the day, we're 3 from 3. Very happy with where we're placed, but we know we've got some bigger challenges ahead over the next couple of weeks.
Ross, just with the variety you've got as far as left-hand, right-hand combinations throughout the batting lineup, can you just talk us through, how much, if you think that that's a strength or an advantage you have, and coming up against India, obviously lost Shikhar Dhawan, and now they don't have any sort of left-hand batsman in that top order. Is that something in contrast that you feel you could maybe exploit somehow, tactically?
Yeah, I haven't been in the bowling meetings, but obviously Shikhar's a big loss to India. The presence, he plays very well at ICC tournaments and has a very good record over here. But himself and Rohit Sharma have got a very good partnership, and I think they complement each other well because they're right and left-handed. But in terms of our lineup, I think we've had a similar balanced side for a long time, and when you do have a right-left-hand combination, it does put pressure in different ways on the bowling opposition, and when a lot of these grounds in the UK have a short boundary to one side, and if you've got 2 right-handers or 2 left-handers, you can't exploit it as much, where obviously having the right and left hand and the communication becomes very important to target those short boundaries. And as we see, there's traditionally a very short boundary here, and if that is the case, then hopefully we can exploit it with the right left hand, as I'm sure India and other teams that are playing here will try to do.
Ross, you seem to be in quite a bit of form at the minute. What do you put that down to?
You never get too carried away in this game of cricket. I'm pretty happy. I've had a big Big push for this World Cup. Not getting any younger, but there's still a long way to go in this tournament, and as I said, still got some big games to go. So never get too carried away, but hopefully the confidence and the runs can continue for a bit longer.
You've spent a bit of time at this pitch. What's it like when it's moist in these conditions? Do they favour New Zealand? And my second question is, you and Kane, have you sorted out your communications so you don't run each other out, or nearly run each other out again?
As long as they're only nearlies, that's okay. It's not a new thing with Kane. We've been poor for a while, but no, I've enjoyed my stint here at Notts. It's a ground. The weather it was an outstanding summer last year, so there wasn't a lot of rained out games. And traditionally, when you play here at county cricket, you play on either side. You don't normally play in the middle, which is safe for international and obviously Test match cricket. So no, I mean it's a great place to play cricket. Traditionally, can favour the batters at times, but I'm sure the bowlers will be going to have a little bit there. It's been up in the covers for 2 or 3 days and it hasn't seen the sun. So I'm sure we'll have to wait and see what happens. But first and foremost, it's a great place to play cricket, and I'm sure anytime you play India in a neutral venue, there's always going to be more Indian supporters in New Zealand. So I'm sure that's something that we're looking forward to as well.
Ross, 130 from 3 matches so far for you. A couple of the guys, Shakib Al Hassan, David Warner, Jason Roy, are over 200 for the matches so far. Do you see that as a personal challenge? Can you see that and look at it and think, I want to run those guys down over the course of this tournament?
I didn't bat in the first game. It's not a bad thing. No, I think my position at 4 is to bat the situation as best as possible. If the openers go well, then you play accordingly, and vice versa if you're in early, to try and adapt as quick as possible. In terms of going out there and getting numbers like that, if you're winning games of cricket and help contribute in any way possible, then first and foremost that's what you want to do. And whatever your stats are at the end of the tournament, if you make the semi-finals, finals, win the trophy, they become irrelevant, and that becomes the main focus. And I think if you talk to most players in the team, it's about contribution, and if they do that, then they've done their job.
Is Southey's injury all good, and is he back in contention?
Yeah, the whole all 15 are in contention, and as I said, with the weather around, and we don't want to preempt anything, but in saying that, I think if there are shortened games and whatnot, those are something that the coach and captain will have to decide at the time. But we haven't made a decision on our final 11, and hopefully the weather plays part.